Hello and welcome back to Forza Motorsport 7 for quite possibly the final Hillclimb. We have the Formula Drift cars up today, and in fact this vehicle was the slowest because it was drifting. Now, for all the other runs, I did normal driving, like proper racing laps and everything, but since there were drift cars, I figured I should see how the drift cars fared. And not just, I don't know, have all of them drive sensibly, because that would be boring. And this gives a nice spectacular opening. So, yeah, I was curious to see how much slower drifting would be. And I think we can definitively answer that drifting is substantially slower. Now, one quick point to note for the remainder of the video, there have been a fair few spotlight cars, like the September spotlight car, the Nissan Turbo Silhouette, and the AMR1 Aston Martin, which I won't have videos for. And I've also done like the Unicorn and the Twerk Stallion around here, just for comparison's sake against these cars, but again, they will not be shown, just because they've kind of gotten out of date, relative speaking. And these are a bit more recent for the game. Just makes sense to not, clog it up, if you will. But anyway, yeah, drifting, I was amazed at how good drifting I was with this car. It's very easy to drift with these vehicles, as you can see. Pretty much perfect drifting, probably the best drifting I've ever done. As we go across the line, knocking out the sign, one more straight to go. These things only have 4 gears, so they top out pretty quick. Up next is, well, the least powerful drift car we've ever had. At a measly 750 horsepower, this is the BMW 325i Formula Drift. And you would think not having a lot of power would still, I say not a lot of power, having less power than everything else would make it easier to control, and therefore faster on the corners. And you would be completely wrong. It did have a fair bit of control, but it wasn't quite controllable enough. I mean, I do admire them for making a very tiny car, have a very big engine and a lot of power. However, it doesn't really work as a hill climb car, unsurprisingly. All of them were S-Class, except for one, which is R-Class. We'll get to that one later on. But yeah, I thought the BMW would do a bit better. It carries some good speed, but you just can't use the throttle hardly at all. I mean, that's to be expected as a drift car, but I was hoping for a little bit better traction and high-speed corner grip, but that was sadly not present in the BMW here. I must say, I do like the big old air cutout, like a trophy truck for the fan in the back. I do like that. They're all very cool vehicles, but this is certainly one of the stranger contraptions I've ever seen. Does not hit the sign this time. Heading up across the line. This next one isn't a car. It isn't a truck. It's from Australia. It's the Holden HSV Ute drift car. It's got 1,000 horsepower. It's absolutely mental. It's probably one of the most difficult vehicles to drive up here, because Utes never have a lot of rear end grip anyway, because, well, none of their weight is over the rear. However, when you add that to 1,000 horsepower, it doesn't exactly get much better. You see, even there when I'm not trying to drift it, it just goes sideways. And that doesn't really help your time, unfortunately. It's not terrible through the corners, to be honest, but the problem is it has so little rear end grip, even for a Formula Drift car. It is a bit mental. And, I mean, these things have crazy power to weight ratios, like some have almost 1,300 horsepower. Like this one here, power to weight ratio of 2 pounds per horsepower. That's Koenigsegg 1-to-1 levels of power to weight ratio, but the problem is it can't use it. So it's very fast in a straight line. This one actually has 6 gears, so it can get up to some serious speed, up to 180 miles an hour across the line, with a bit of a wiggle. Well, this vehicle, we've actually seen it before. It's the number 777 Formula Drift Nissan. However, this time it's not drifting, it's actually properly running up the course. And you'll probably be able to judge, based on how long this video clip plays, how much faster it is, because it's a very substantial difference. This thing, over 1,200 horsepower, all going through the rear wheels, and yet it's actually quite nice to drive. I didn't have too many problems with this car, truth be told. It was probably one of the easier ones to drive. There are a few real slippery ones, but this one, it was pretty controllable. It wasn't terrible. It was right on the edge of being annoying, but overall it was not too shabby. And as you can see, I'm not getting very sideways here. I did clip the wall there because of a twitch, but overall, not too bad. Not too bad from the little Nissan 240. There's 3 240s in this update because you need 4, or 3. You need 3 240s. I mean, I would have liked the Ferrari or the Scion TC, but this will work. I mean, it looks cool, and it's got 1,200 horsepower, so I can't really complain. You see, it does get a little bit unhappy, but after that, it's immediately on the grip, which I don't understand how that works, but there you go. And heading up at over 150 miles an hour across the knob. Alright, this is our second least powerful car of the Formula Drift ones. This is the Formula Drift Mustang 980 something horsepower. And, well, if you just watch Vogren Jr.'s video, he drifted the entire Nürburgring with this car. Now, this is not his specific one, but it's an identical version of it with some slight tuning, I would assume. But it's pretty much the same version. And although I'm not the biggest fan of the paint job, I must admit, it is a pretty grippy car. As long as you're not an absolute idiot with it, you can get some pretty serious speed out of these corners. Like, that's about 105 over there. Not too shabby. And it's, yes, you can see, I do script the wall a little bit, but it's not too bad. Not too bad. I do, even with a brake lockup, I'm able to make the corner just about fine. I was genuinely impressed with the quality of this car. I was hoped for a little bit better from the vehicle, but I mean, it did drift the whole Nürburgring, so yeah, I might have turned it a little early there, but didn't cost us too much time as we head up across the line. On to 240, number 2. This one, I think it looks much better. It is a very, I love the Formula Drift paint schemes. They are absolutely mental. And this one here is like spoon colored, but it's Rain-X. So there you go. But no, this one slightly less powerful, but it still has near enough, makes no difference, 1,000 horsepower. And it handles similarly, but it is faster. I did get very close to the wall there. That was not a line I was anticipating on taking, but I ended up taking that because of some wheel spin. So I had to make some correcting adjustments there so I didn't crash into the wall like an idiot. Then we carry good speed again. I was surprised on how much speed these cars can carry. I was not expecting them to get away with nearly as much speed as they did through that triple apex section, because those are very fast, high-speed corners that you can't quite go flat out on any car except the top LMPs. So, being able to go over 100 miles an hour through there is pretty impressive, and also very terrifying, but pretty impressive. As for this car, it was weird. It was very similar, but it was a bit faster down the straightaway, probably because of the gearing. It did clobber the sign, as per usual from the Sylvias, or 240s, as we go across the line. Now, in terms of terror, nothing beats the brute force of the 1,400 horsepower Dodge Viper Formula Drift. Personally, this is my favorite looking of the cars. I love this look of Viper. It is my favorite look of the Viper. And then you have the brute force of that massive engine. I think they kept the standard engine based on the noise that it makes, but they tuned it up a lot. Like, a lot. And now it pretty much just wants to spin its wheels in second and third and in parts of fourth. And it only has 4 gears. So, yeah. What it lacks in traction, though, it more than makes up for in straight line speed. If you can get its power down, it will go to 200 miles an hour. That is very fast for having 4 gears. If you tune that thing, it will fly away like a spaceship, I would imagine. So, it is quite terrifying, quite uncontrollable, and it spits all of the fire out of the side exit exhaust, which are always a win. So, getting around the course was very challenging, hence why the light is broken, because on the way here, on the way to the start line, I might have bumped the wall. But here we're heading down the corner, knocking over the sign once again, and hitting over 180 miles an hour across the line. Okay, fastest Formula Drift car of the day will go to the third and final Nissan 240 SX. This one, again, around 1,000 horsepower. Actually, no, this one's 1,300 horsepower. Yeah, 1,300 horsepower. It does have the weird muscle car body kit on it. I still don't understand why they decided to emulate the Dodge Charger from the 70s with that front end. But there you go. It is very fast, and it's relatively grippy. It does like to spin its wheels up a fair bit, but you can control it a bit easier than the other ones. And then, of course, that 1,300 horsepower gives you a whole lot of speed. So, once you do get the power down, you're gone. You're just gone. And you can carry a lot of speed with this car. You can see it's right on the edge. You're using all of the tarmac and maybe a little bit more. But you do get it around the corner. And yeah, I like it. I'm not a big fan of the looks, I will be honest. But in terms of Formula Drift, just straight line speed and around the track is probably one of the fastest. And one big advantage it has is the hood exit exhaust, because that's always a win. Just ask the Unicorn. Alright, the fastest vehicle of the day, is, well, discount Cosworth. I love the Sierra Cosworth, I love the Escort Cosworth. But this is neither of those, despite the fact that it's based on it. This is the Merkur XR IT something. And if you're thinking it should have a wing, it does have a wing. The recording isn't showing that it has a wing. I'm not sure why, but it doesn't. And this was the October Spotlight car. And all I can say about it is meh. I don't know what classification it raced in. It wasn't very popular. It didn't have very good records, really. I mean, I think it won one championship, but that's it. And it wasn't a major endurance championship or anything. So it just kind of exists. I mean, it's a cool car, but I see no point in it. I don't know why it's here, or what its existence is, why they selected this over any of the other cars, but there you go. It's just very strange. But the very strange car is also very fast in this field, this R-Class, and it can catapult itself all the way across the line. And the fastest one of the day was the Merkur as a 122.7. It'll put it just in the top 10, beating the 720S by just a tenth of a second. That's not bad. I think that stands more than the 720S, though, considering that is a full-on race car, and it's only a tenth of a second faster than a full-on road legal supercar. Then we move on to all of the Formula Drift cars in one place, with the Nissan number 3 being the fastest at 232, 125. Then you can see the non-drifting number 777 Formula Drift doing a 126.5. And it's interesting because there's a front-wheel drive car here that is actually faster than the Mustang Formula Drift. Which we then move on to the slowest non-drifting Formula Drift car, which is the 325i. That was 129.8. Faster than the F-Type, faster than the Porsche 804, but slower than the GT1 road legal race car, and slower than its Hoonigan Ute as well. And then we go all the way down to 55th place for the drifting Nissan. That, I thought it would be slow, but I didn't realize it would be that slow. It's slower than D-Class cars. It's barely faster than the Alfa Romeo of Barth. I mean, it was not fast. It was not fast at all. However, since it's probably the last Hillclimb, I thought that instead of just having a PDF file, which probably wouldn't work because it never works for me for whatever reason, I would just have the video end here, then after this ending, have all of the times shown in 10-20 second intervals. So, with that being said, thank you very much for watching. I'll be back with more.